listening to Ring of Fire with Sam Seder, 800-783-7412.
Let me apologize to those people watching on the Sammy Cam at SammyCamLive.com, watching me struggle with an apple, and part of an apple gets stuck in your teeth, and then you're struggling with it on the Sammy Cam. You can watch me eat an apple during the break at SammyCamLive.com. I finished the last segment by saying, why can't we absorb these children? And we can. And when Ian Gordon says it's about political will, that is a very polite way of saying this is about racism. There is no doubt in my mind that if we had tens of thousands of Irish kids in detention centers, if we had tens of thousands of Australian kids in detention centers, British kids in detention centers, there would be such a public outcry. These kids have to be a found placement in foster care and whatnot. But instead, what we do is we see the most pure form of the conservative base come out and try and intimidate these kids, or these Republican politicians who go on Fox and, of course, they let it. This is all a conspiracy. This is Rick Perry desperately searching around for his issue, I guess, to launch his 2016 campaign. Clip number 8.
Well, you either have an incredibly inept administration, or they're in on this somehow or another. I mean, I hate to be conspiratorial, but I mean, how do you move that many people from Central America across Mexico and then into the United States without there being a fairly coordinated effort?
Of course. We have probably U.S. military cargo trucks bringing these people up. Of course. They're in on it. This guy is a lunatic. Let's go to John in Los Angeles. Welcome to the program, John.
Hey, Sam. I do wonder, though, how do those little babies get across the desert all the way? That's such a dangerous journey. But I just think this is a recipe for disaster, because what it does is, if we absorb these kids, as you say, it opens up such fraud, and it's aiding and abetting these coyotes that are hugely profiting. And that's how those little kids, a 2-year-old kid, is not getting here unless a coyote, a human trafficker, who we want to go into business with, because if we say we're going to absorb these kids, there's going to be 700,000 more human traffickers in the business, bringing more of these children up north. And who knows what happens to these young girls along the way. To do anything but discourage this from happening is aiding and abetting. In my opinion, these human traffickers, these coyotes, these cartels that are at the root of this northern migration, this rapid northern migration of young children. Because if it's not their parents or their family, then who is it that's bringing them?
The problem is that when these people are, these kids, and obviously a 2-year-old is not making their own determination, but I have a feeling the average age of these kids is older than 2. But when they get sent back to Honduras, when they get 100
toddlers, though.
I mean, I don't doubt that some of them are toddlers. I don't doubt that some of them are toddlers. We're talking about 50 to 60,000. 50,000 since October already. And, I mean, here's the bottom line. We are not going to discourage anybody.
So 20.
We're not going to discourage.
Girls, and how many of them were abused along the way? And how many of them are coming here for trafficking?
John, John, your comment is premised on the notion that this is going to discourage people from coming.
No,
again,
it's going to encourage them.
You cannot expect
people to come.
John.
Yes.
You cannot. But you're implying here that if we send them back,
we have to.
After putting them through a process, that this is going to discourage more people from coming. And the reality is that's not the case.
We can't discourage them. We can only make it more difficult for them to get here in terms of staying here.
Well, no, wait a second, John. Reconcile this for me. Reconcile this for me.
Okay.
You talk about how concerned you are about the girls who are making this trip.
You're not?
God knows what happens to them. You talk about how concerned you are about the toddlers. Excuse me, let me finish.
Okay.
You talk about how concerned you are about the toddlers.
Yes.
Yet you say, we want to make this harder for them, even though you concede it's not going to convince anybody not to try and come again.
We have to stem the problem because this wasn't a huge problem 6 months.
All right, so John, how do we stem the problem? Let's talk about how we stem the problem.
Okay, here's how we stem the problem. We go to Guatemala and we say we're going to take money from the money that we give you and we're going to take care of your people here. We go to Mexico and we put pressure on Mexico and say, look, obviously you people are letting these folks come through, these unaccompanied young children come through your country. And so if you don't enforce your borders coming north, there will be consequences financially in aid to you. And it just comes up right up the line. And I'll bet
we haven't had any success in this in terms of drugs. And so here's the bottom line.
Drugs, though.
I understand, John.
People, though, are so much different.
Actually, I don't think it's that different. I mean, the coyote, they are virtually interchangeable. Here's the point, John. If you can get John, if you can get the U.S. body politic to actually say we're going to pour billions of dollars, and I agree with you. This is really what we should be doing. We should be going into these countries and we should be pouring money into these countries if we are really so concerned about this. No, we're not.
Money into these countries.
No, we're not.
Yes.
No, we're not.
Okay. I don't know that to be true.
Tell me how much we're pouring in there, John.
Are we not giving aid to Guatemala and are we not giving aid to Mexico financially? Is that not true?
Oh, I have no doubt that we are giving some small amount, but I'm talking billions of dollars.
Could we use that as a leverage? Could we use that aid?
No, we don't. We don't give enough to use as a leverage, John, or we would have no problem with drug importation. Look, it is a disaster down there.
We're talking about two different things. I know the drug cartels are largely involved in trafficking all of these young children, which you want to absorb, and that's going to encourage not the children, but the body of people who traffic the kids. That's who it's going to be like Walmart down there. With give me your kid and $1,800 and I'll take them north.
Well, I mean, look, unless you're willing to put in billions, not millions, billions, John, this problem's not going to end. And so the question is, I appreciate the call. The question is, how much suffering do you want to subject these children to? How much suffering do you want to subject these children to? That's the question. You know, we can give $200 million, $300 million to El Salvador, to Guatemala, or to Honduras. That is not even close to what is necessary. Not even close. So then the question is, how much suffering are you willing to subject these kids to? And the idea that, well, we want to send them back so that they don't suffer as much is just absurd. It's just absurd. Let's go to Teresa, calling from Santa Rosa, California.
About children.
Welcome to the program, Teresa.
Hi.
Hi.
I think John is the caller. Is stupid about the complexity of large families. I'm from a very large family. I'm an old woman. And what he doesn't understand is that a 2-year-old could easily traverse 1,200 miles on top of a train. If a child leaves with a small group of kids, with a 10-year-old in charge, you can definitely go clear across the United States. I know for fact. And I think it's a terrible waste of human life to send these kids back to a situation that is not positive. And we need these kids as much as they need us. They're going to bring diversity. They're going to enrich us in ways we haven't begun to even imagine yet. And it's just so ignorant and just so smug of the United States, the way we ask other countries to take our refugees, and we don't want these refugees that we've been blessed with, that have just landed at our border. We should definitely organize and find ways to keep these kids.
Well, we're going to be talking, and I appreciate the phone call, Teresa. We're going to be talking to some activists. I think it's tomorrow, right? Or is it Wednesday? Who try and place these children. But I think you're right. And the idea that, like, well, the coyotes are going to say, well, now they're absorbing these kids after a couple of years. These are all the smugglers who have a tremendous amount of integrity and would never lie to anybody anyways. All right, we're going to take a break. 800-783-7412 is the number. Sammy Cam is in effect at SammyCamLive.com. Check it out.
For more on the show, check out Ring of Fire on Facebook.